Everyone seems to be blaming Michael Saylor for Bitcoin's recent drop to below $60,000. But if you've been following the channel, we've been discussing this as a real possibility for quite some time. In fact, I had so much confidence that Bitcoin would be moving lower that I added to my existing short on the way down. Right now, you can see that I'm currently up around $600,000 on my most recent Bitcoin short. And in today's video, I'd like to take you through what I think could be happening next in this market as Bitcoin tries to carve out a bear market bottom. If you enjoy the content, as always, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into it. So, Bitcoin had the drop, and we've been calling for sub 60K for quite some time. When Bitcoin had a nice pump into $81,000, $82,000, and everyone was getting excited about the Clarity Act voting, we went short not only in my group, but also on the live stream. So you can see here, this is another Bitcoin position where we shorted at around $81,500, taking some profits on the way down. This position is currently up around 50K as well. Look, in bear markets, Bitcoin tends to spend the majority of its time actually going up, convincing people that the bear market is over, only for us to dump aggressively in a matter of days, effectively retracing the entire move. So you can see here, this is a classic example of stairs up, elevator down. Now, Bitcoin swept its low. We made a new low down to around $59,000. Was that the low? Is the bear market low in? In my opinion, the answer to that question is no, but I want to take you through a couple of scenarios here that we must consider because there's times where Bitcoin carves out a low in June, but it's actually a slightly lower low, which we just saw, and then we get another relief rally before moving lower into the end of the year. So if we take a look at this price action, it's abundantly clear that on the weekly time frame, we swept the recent low. Now, my expectation is that we should be revisiting these lows, but I am open to looking for longs in this market on another potential relief rally if we manage to hold above the current levels at around $59,000. In the previous bear market, you'll notice that Bitcoin dropped massively into June, and it wasn't just a wick of the prior low, but actually we managed to get a significant move down from that low that we established in May, and in June we carved out the new low. This was around the middle of June. Then we had another relief rally, which was approximately 42% once more, only for us to move lower into the final quarter of the year before Bitcoin formed that bear market bottom, and then we had another bull market. I firmly expect Bitcoin to perform well in the coming years. So we need to also understand the fact that in 2018, we set a low in February, right at the beginning of February, and then when June came around, after having this relief rally where once again everyone got excited and it was a huge move to the upside, we managed to literally just sweep the lows before getting another relief rally. The reason why this is interesting is because I think we're at a point now where Bitcoin finally swept the lows and people are now convinced that, okay, fine, we're in a bear market, that wasn't the bottom, we're going lower. But if the majority of people think that Bitcoin is going to go significantly lower immediately, what are the odds that we actually get that? What happens if we just pump instead and then move lower later in the year? Now, you can see here that we effectively swept this low. This was in June, and then the following week afterwards, we swept it again and we reclaimed the level before moving to the upside. Now, I'm on a weekly chart here, but you'll notice that from this low to the high, we pumped another 46%. What that would look like today would be effectively Bitcoin dropping down, which we did see, and then we basically come back down again, get another sweep, and a 45% rally, let's just call it 40% for simplicity's sake, would put Bitcoin above the recent highs. I know that sounds absolutely insane, and it isn't my base case, but I need to present all sides of the market here. Over the course of this year, I still think that Bitcoin can be moving lower. I've been quite vocal about this since literally every single relief rally of this bear market. You can see that Bitcoin's drawdowns are typically significantly more than what we've seen. Right now, we're sitting at about a 50% drawdown from the all-time high to where we are today. In previous bear markets, you can see that the first time we had a 93% drop. Then we had an 85% drop. Then we had an 84% drop, and in the previous bear market, we had a 77% drop. My base case here is that Bitcoin will likely get somewhere between a 60 and 70% drop, which is in line with the law of diminishing drawdowns and also diminishing returns, because in the next cycle, from bear market low to bull market top, I don't think that Bitcoin will do, for example, the 8x that we saw in the previous cycle. This makes sense. So what would a 60 to 70% low for Bitcoin look like? Well, if we take it from the all-time high to a 60% drop, that would put Bitcoin down to just around $50,000. A 70% drop, well, we're talking about sub 40K. So it is technically possible, but as I've been vocal about on the channel, I will most certainly not wait for a hypothetical bottom like this. I am a long-term Bitcoin investor, and despite the fact that I have been vocally bearish on Bitcoin throughout this entire relief rally, making money on the way down by shorting Bitcoin, I still think that Bitcoin will be performing well, and I want to have some more exposure. If you're new to the channel, I invested in Bitcoin back in the last bear market, but I've been trading the crypto markets since 2017. I accumulated Bitcoin between $16,000 and around $30,000, slowly dollar cost averaging within that range. And I'm going to do the same this bear market. So yes, I do think Bitcoin could go lower, but I have to say, from a technical perspective, given the fact that we've already swept the lows and right now we're getting a little bit of buying pressure, and the fact that if we take a look at the higher time frame liquidity maps, you'll notice that there is a lot of short interest in this market. And so it would be the perfect storm for Bitcoin to now go ahead and liquidate some shorts in this market. Although I must say I am open to the idea of Bitcoin continuing its descent from here, setting a more aggressive low in June, and then getting another little bit of a relief rally in July, August, only for us to drop a little bit lower near the end of the year. These are all hypotheticals, of course, but I'm going to maintain my existing massive Bitcoin short position with my stop losses at break even. That includes this position and this position over here. All the members of my premium group have been benefiting from these calls, obviously, because I've been so vocal about it, and I share my entries, I share my exits. So if you want to see how I've been personally trading this market, remember you do have the first link in the description down below. It's quite simple. If you click this link and you DM me the keyword CBM on Telegram, you'll get access to my group. The only requirement is that you've signed up with one of these affiliate exchange links down below, and you start trading on there as you'd normally do. Bluffin is my go-to. You guys see the big trades that I have on Bluffin, and I'm trying to make this ideally a $1 million trade. But for that to happen, I would likely have to add to my position if we get some kind of relief rally. So right now, actually, before we move on there, I just wanted to share that we are currently ranked 3rd on the Bluffin War of Whales competition, and this is very significant considering we have less than 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm competing against some big hitters. So I'm very, very happy about how our team has been performing, and it's not just about trading volume, it's also about the collective team P&L, because there's thousands of teams that have signed up to this Bluffin trading competition, and it's pretty uncommon for the top 3 in volume to also be included in, for example, the top 10 in profitability out of thousands of teams. So if we click on the team P&L and we scroll down here, you'll notice that we are currently ranked 7th in terms of profitability out of thousands of teams as well, which means more rewards for our team. So if you'd like to join, it's as simple as clicking that second link in the description down below, and you can join me on Bluffin. Start trading on there. I would highly recommend that you make it your go-to exchange because I've been talking about it time and time again, and it is my personal go-to crypto exchange. They give you the option to trade crypto, stocks, they have tons of bonuses, And you also get access to my community if that interests you, of course. Otherwise, I'm still going to be posting free content on YouTube. I'll still be doing the long live streams over the course of the week, so stay tuned for that. So what would be my base case? If Bitcoin starts gaining acceptance, so we're talking about multiple daily closes below the wick that it just printed at around $59,000. To me, that would suggest that we could be revisiting lower levels such as the mid 50K zones. Now, I want to also discuss the fact that, yes, while we do have a lot of upside liquidity, the market structure is still bearish. So it doesn't mean that we have to absolutely just fly to the upside, grab that liquidity, and then drop lower. Obviously, it can happen if a bottom starts carving out here, but I want you to be aware of the fact that people are still adamant on trying to long this bottom, and you can see that we have tons of liquidity right at around $60,200. And if we zoom out, it's actually one of the bigger clusters within this region, although we have tons more liquidity to the upside. So the way that this liquidity can get eliminated would be either we go ahead and grab it, Bitcoin carves out that bottom that we're seeing right here on the weekly time frame, and then we get a nice move to the upside, wrecking a lot of the late shorters in this market. Or we can have Bitcoin dropping further and then shorts start closing their position, therefore removing this liquidity that you can see here on the charts. So let's see how this plays out. Something I wanted to point out, the Coinbase Premium Index is now still in red, but it has started easing a little bit. We were in deep, deep red on this downtrend, and now you can see at the moment that the Coinbase Premium Index starts flipping a little bit to the upside here, not quite green, we can see some relief for the price of Bitcoin after sweeping below $60,000. Now, the other thing that we must discuss, let's talk about Saylor and his product, because he seems to be a very hot topic at this point. His stretch product is currently at 93. It rarely went this low, and he needs to get it back to 100 to reach par, giving him that excess liquidity to buy more Bitcoin. We can see what happened when he officially sold around 32 Bitcoins on the market, and you'll notice that he's currently down around $11 billion on his Bitcoin investment. A lot of people are blaming him, as we discussed at the beginning of the video. I don't necessarily think it's his fault. There's always some kind of narrative in the space that tries to justify why Bitcoin is going down, but the reality is, in bear markets, we have seen far more significant drawdowns. And remember what we discussed on the channel. The moment that stocks start struggling just a little bit, Bitcoin will struggle massively. And that's exactly what we saw going into the end of the week. Bitcoin dropped to below $60,000, carved out a little bit of a new bottom, which is yet to be determined whether or not that is the local bottom, and stocks continue to bleed. So if we start getting acceptance below this crucial support level for the stock market, I would say that it is highly likely that Bitcoin will continue its descent. However, if we start to hold support here, then that could make the case for Bitcoin getting a little bit of a pop to the upside. Either way, I will be looking to trade this market in my community, and of course, I will be doing the live streams this week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I wanted to also talk about the fact that the last time that Saylor sold Bitcoin, technically speaking, the cycle bottom was very close, although I do agree with this guy's comment down below. It's two different stories. Here he has stretched to keep up, unlike 2022, which was to cover his potential margin call. So I still think that Bitcoin goes lower over the course of this year. I don't think that 50% was enough to call for a bottom, but in the more immediate short term, there is a chance here that we can see a little bit of a move to the upside. What I'll be looking for in my community is potentially a sweep of these lows once more with acceptance back above, and then I may have another swing longing opportunity. Remember what I discussed in this market. I look for swing shorting opportunities on relief rallies. So if I do take a trade here, and let's say Bitcoin gets a little bit of a move to the upside, assuming we don't just nuke at the beginning of the week, I would be looking to add to my existing swing short and hopefully make this a $1 million trade, all live, all public. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I will see you in tomorrow's live stream.